What would you do if you discovered that the person you sacrificed everything for had been secretly plotting your downfall for years? I'm talking about emptying your bank accounts, turning your children against you, and planning to have you declared mentally unstable. That's exactly what happened to me. And the night I found out, I was standing in my own kitchen, holding a birthday cake I'd baked for the woman who was about to destroy me. But before I tell you how I turned the tables on her, tell me in the comments what city or state you're watching from. And don't forget to like and subscribe so I can keep bringing you stories that will leave you speechless. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of my sister's penthouse apartment. I had spent the entire day preparing for her 45th birthday celebration. The dining table was set with her favorite china, the ones that belonged to our mother. White roses filled every vase, because Miranda always said they made her feel elegant. I had even hired a pianist to play softly in the corner, creating the perfect atmosphere. My hands were covered in flour as I put the finishing touches on her cake. 3 layers of red velvet with cream cheese frosting, decorated with delicate sugar flowers. It had taken me 6 hours to make it perfect. My feet ached, my back was sore, but none of that mattered. Miranda was my only family. After our parents died in a car accident 10 years ago, we only had each other. At least, that's what I believed. I glanced at the clock. The guests would arrive in 2 hours. Everything needed to be flawless. Miranda had very high standards, and I had learned over the years never to disappoint her. She had been so good to me, she always reminded me. When I lost my job 3 years ago, she let me move into her guest house. When my savings ran out, she gave me an allowance to cover my expenses. When I felt lost and worthless, she told me I could work as her personal assistant and housekeeper to earn my keep. Looking back now, I can't believe I didn't see it sooner. While I was arranging the champagne glasses, Miranda's housekeeper, Rosa, walked into the kitchen. She was an older woman, probably in her 60s, who had worked for my sister for over 15 years. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Something between pity and anger. "Miss Juliana," she said quietly, glancing toward the hallway to make sure we were alone. "I need to tell you something." "Not now, Rosa," I replied, focused on getting the champagne bottles into the ice buckets. "I still have so much to do before the party starts." She grabbed my wrist gently but firmly. "It has to be now, before those people arrive and before it's too late." Something in her voice made me stop. I turned to face her fully. Her eyes were watery, and her hands trembled slightly. "What's wrong?" I asked, suddenly worried. "Is Miranda okay? Did something happen?" Rosa shook her head slowly. "Miranda is fine. More than fine. But you, Miss Juliana, you are in danger." I laughed nervously. "Danger? What are you talking about? You're scaring me." She pulled me toward the pantry, away from any possible listeners. In a whisper, she said, "I wasn't supposed to hear it. I was cleaning the upstairs study yesterday afternoon when Miss Miranda was on the phone with her lawyer. The door was slightly open. I heard everything. My heart started beating faster." "Heard what, Rosa? Please, just tell me." Rosa took a deep breath. "Your sister is planning to have you declared mentally incompetent. She's been documenting incidents, making recordings, gathering witnesses who will testify that you're unstable. Her lawyer was going through the final steps. Once she has the conservatorship, she'll control everything. Your inheritance from your parents, your share of the family trust, even the life insurance policy that lists you as the beneficiary." The room seemed to tilt. I gripped the shelf behind me to steady myself. "That's impossible. Why would Miranda do that? She's been taking care of me." "Has she?" Rosa's voice was sharp now. "Or has she been isolating you? Think about it, Miss Juliana. When was the last time you saw your old friends? When did you last leave this property for more than an errand? Who controls your phone, your email, your money?" The words hit me like cold water. It was true. Miranda had convinced me to delete my social media accounts because they were causing me anxiety. She handled all my mail because I was too depressed to deal with it. She managed the small allowance she gave me because I was bad with money. Every decision, every connection, every aspect of my life had slowly been transferred into her hands. And I had thanked her for it. "There's more," Rosa continued, her voice breaking. "Tonight at the party, she's going to make a scene. She's going to accuse you of stealing from her, of threatening her, of being violent. She has people coming who will witness it. By tomorrow morning, she'll have you committed to a psychiatric facility. That's why I had to tell you now." My legs felt weak. I sat down on a small stool in the corner of the pantry. "I don't understand. We're sisters. Our parents left everything to both of us equally. Why would she need to do this? Rosa knelt beside me. Because your share is worth $12 million, Miss Juliana. The family trust, the properties, the investments your father built. Miranda has been living beyond her means for years. She's in debt, serious debt. She needs your half to save herself. And the only way to get it legally is to have you declared incompetent so she can become your guardian. $12 million. I had almost forgotten. After our parents died, everything went into a trust. Miranda managed it because I was too grief-stricken to think about money. She told me the investments weren't doing well, that we needed to be careful. She gave me a few $100s a month and said it was all we could afford. I lived in her guest house, wore secondhand clothes, and ate leftovers from her dinner parties. Meanwhile, she wore designer everything, drove a luxury car, and threw elaborate parties every month. I had been such a fool. Rosa, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Do you have proof of any of this? She nodded quickly and pulled out her phone. I recorded the conversation. I know it was wrong, but I couldn't let her do this to you. Your mother was kind to me when I first came to this country. She treated me like family. I can't stand by and watch her daughter destroy her other daughter. She played the recording. My sister's voice came through clearly, cold, and calculated. There was no warmth, no hesitation. She discussed me like I was a problem to be solved, an obstacle to be removed. The lawyer's voice responded with legal terms. Commitment procedures, psychiatric evaluations from doctors she had already paid off, witness statements from people I didn't even know. My hands were shaking so badly, I could barely hold the phone. When the recording ended, I looked up at Rosa with tears streaming down my face. What do? I whispered. Rosa squeezed my hand. You fight back. But you have to be smart. If you confront her now without a plan, she'll move faster. She'll call the police, claim you attacked her, and have you taken away tonight. You need leverage. What kind of leverage? Evidence. Documentation. Witnesses who will tell the truth. Rosa paused. And you need to move your money before she freezes everything. I don't have any money to move. Miranda controls it all. No, Rosa said firmly. She controls access to it. But legally, half of everything is still yours. The trust documents are in her safe. I've seen them. And I know the combination. My heart was pounding. Rosa, that's the only way you survive this, she interrupted. Miss Juliana, your sister is going to arrive in 90 minutes with a group of people who are going to help her bury you. You can either be a victim or you can be ready. I wiped my tears and stood up. Something shifted inside me. The fog of confusion and self-doubt that had surrounded me for 3 years began to clear. I thought about my mother, how strong she had been. How she had built a successful career as a real estate developer when everyone told her women couldn't do it. How she had taught Miranda and me to stand up for ourselves. Miranda had forgotten those lessons. But I hadn't. What do I need to do? I asked. For the next hour, Rosa and I worked quickly and quietly. She brought me to Miranda's study, a room I was never allowed to enter without permission. The safe was hidden behind a painting of our parents. Rosa entered the combination with steady fingers, and the heavy door swung open. Inside were stacks of documents. I pulled out the trust papers first. As I read through them, rage built in my chest. Everything Rosa had said was true. The trust was worth nearly $24 million, split equally between Miranda and me. But according to the bank statements tucked inside, Miranda had been taking distributions from both halves. She had been living off my money for years while telling me we could barely afford groceries. There were other documents, too. Credit card bills showing hundreds of thousands in debt. Notices from banks threatening foreclosure on properties I didn't even know she owned. And a file labeled Juliana, incompetence evidence. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside were photographs of me. In one, I was sitting on the guest house porch in my pajamas at 3 p.m, looking disheveled and tired. The caption Miranda had written said, "Subject shows lack of self-care and inability to maintain normal schedule." In another, I was crying during a phone call. Her note, emotional instability, frequent breakdowns. There were fake journal entries written in handwriting that looked like mine but wasn't, describing paranoid thoughts and suicidal ideation. There were affidavits from people claiming to be my friends, saying they were worried about my mental state. I didn't recognize a single name. My sister had been building a case against me for over a year. Every moment of my grief, my depression, My struggle to recover from losing my job and my sense of purpose had been documented and twisted into evidence of insanity. Take pictures of everything, Rosa urged. We need copies. I used my phone to photograph every page, every statement, every piece of her conspiracy. Then I found something else. A letter from a psychiatric facility confirming a bed was reserved in my name, starting tomorrow. The payment, $300,000 up front, deducted from patient's trust fund pending conservatorship approval. She had already paid to have me locked away. Rosa helped me put everything back exactly as we found it. We closed the safe and straightened the painting. Then she led me to another part of the house, to a room I had never been in. It was her own small bedroom off the kitchen. I have a lawyer, she said. My nephew. He helped me with my immigration papers. He's honest and he's tough. Let me call him. Within 20 minutes, a young man named Carlos arrived at the back entrance. He listened to everything, looked through the photos on my phone, and listened to the recording. His face grew more serious with each piece of evidence. This is fraud, conspiracy, and attempted theft, he said. But we have to be careful. Your sister has resources and connections. If we make one wrong move, she'll bury this. What should I do? I asked. First, we file an emergency petition with the court to freeze all trust assets. That way she can't touch anything until this is resolved. Second, we go to the police with this recording and these documents. What she's planning is criminal. Third, we make sure that when she tries her little performance tonight, it's on record. On record how? Carlos smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. You're going to let the party happen, but we're going to be recording everything. And we're going to have real witnesses here, not the paid actors she's bringing. My stomach twisted with fear. I don't know if I can face her. Pretend like everything is normal. You can, Rosa said, taking my hand. Because you're stronger than she ever gave you credit for. And because we're going to be right here with you. Carlos made several phone calls. Within 40 minutes, a different lawyer arrived, an older woman named Patricia who specialized in trust law. She reviewed everything quickly and made calls to the courthouse. By some miracle, she got an emergency hearing scheduled for first thing in the morning, and a temporary freeze was placed on the trust accounts. Your sister won't know about it until she tries to access the money, Patricia explained. By then, it will be too late. The guests started arriving at 7 o'clock. I put on a smile and greeted them at the door like nothing was wrong. These weren't my sister's usual friends. These were people I had never seen before. They looked at me with curious eyes, studying me like I was a specimen. I realized these were her witnesses, the people she had paid or convinced to testify against me. One woman, elegantly dressed and dripping with jewelry, introduced herself as Dr. Helena Voss, a psychiatrist. My blood ran cold. Miranda was planning to have me evaluated right here at the party. Your sister has told me so much about you, Dr. Voss said with a sympathetic smile that didn't reach her eyes. I understand you've been going through a difficult time. I'm doing much better now, thank you, I replied, keeping my voice steady. Rosa moved through the room serving drinks, but I knew she was positioning small recording devices that Carlos had brought. Hidden cameras were placed in the living room, the dining room, and the study. Everything that happened tonight would be documented. At exactly 7:30, Miranda made her entrance. She swept into the room wearing a stunning red dress that probably cost more than I spent on clothes in a year. Her hair was perfect, her makeup flawless, her smile dazzling. She looked like a woman who had everything. She didn't know that everything was about to crumble. Miranda hugged me warmly when she saw me, kissing both my cheeks like we were the closest sisters in the world. Juliana, darling, everything looks beautiful. You've outdone yourself. Happy birthday, Miranda, I said, returning her embrace. My heart was hammering, but I forced myself to stay calm. I wanted everything to be perfect for you. It is perfect, she said, squeezing my hands. Then, loud enough for others to hear, she added, I'm so grateful you're feeling well enough to help today. I was worried after last week's episode. I blinked. Last week's episode? There had been no episode. But I saw several guests turn to look at me with concerned expressions. This was it. She was already planting seeds. I'm feeling great, I said clearly. Never better, actually. Something flickered in Miranda's eyes. Annoyance, maybe. She hadn't expected me to contradict her. The party continued. I served drinks, made small talk, and played the role of the grateful younger sister. All while watching Miranda work the room. She was masterful. Every few minutes, she would say something seemingly innocent that painted me as fragile, unstable, or incompetent. Juliana used to be so sharp with numbers, but lately she gets confused with the simplest things. I found her wandering outside at 3 a.m. last Tuesday. She didn't even remember leaving the house. The doctors say it might be early-onset dementia, but she refuses to get properly tested. Each lie was delivered with perfect concern, the worried sister trying her best to care for her troubled sibling. I watched people's faces change as they looked at me. Pity. Worry. Some even took small steps away, as if mental illness might be contagious. Dr. Voss stayed close to me, asking seemingly casual questions that I recognized as psychiatric evaluation techniques. How have you been sleeping, Juliana? Any strange dreams? Do you ever hear things that others don't hear? I answered carefully, aware that every word was being twisted in her mind into symptoms of something I didn't have. At 8 o'clock, Miranda called everyone to the dining room for dinner. I had prepared a feast. Roasted lamb, garlic potatoes, fresh salads, and warm bread. The table looked like something from a magazine. Everyone took their seats, and I started to serve. That's when Miranda made her move. I was placing a plate in front of Dr. Voss when Miranda suddenly gasped. Juliana, what did you put in this food? I froze. What do you mean? It's the menu you requested. She stood up, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. Her face was pale, her hand clutched to her throat. I specifically told you I'm allergic to shellfish. There's shrimp in this dish. Are you trying to kill me? My mind raced. There was no shrimp. I had made lamb. But Miranda was a skilled actress. She started breathing rapidly, touching her neck as if it were swelling. Someone call an ambulance, she gasped. She's poisoned me. She knew about my allergy. Dr. Voss jumped up, playing her part perfectly. Everyone stay calm. Miranda, sit down. Juliana, did you add anything unusual to the food? There's no shellfish, I said firmly. I made exactly what she asked for. There's no shrimp, no fish, nothing. She's lying, Miranda shouted, and now there were tears in her eyes. She's been so angry with me lately. So resentful. She blames me for everything wrong in her life. I think she's finally snapped. A man I didn't recognize stood up. I saw her in the kitchen earlier muttering to herself. She seemed agitated. Another woman nodded. She's been acting strange all evening, staring off into space. They were all part of it. Every single one of them had been rehearsed. Miranda sank into her chair dramatically. I didn't want to believe it, but my lawyers warned me this might happen. Juliana, sweetie, you're not well. You need help. I am not sick, I said, my voice rising. There is nothing wrong with the food. You're making this up. You see? Dr. Voss said gently to the others. The paranoia. The aggression. These are classic symptoms. Miranda covered her face with her hands, sobbing. I love my sister. I've tried to take care of her. But she's dangerous. To herself and to others. I can't do this anymore. I need to call someone who can help her. She reached for her phone. This was it. She was going to call the psychiatric facility, have me taken away in front of all these witnesses who would swear I had become violent and unstable. But before she could dial, the front door opened. Carlos walked in, followed by Patricia the trust lawyer, 2 police officers, and a woman in a business suit carrying a briefcase. The room went silent. Miranda looked up, confused. Who are you? This is a private party. You can't just walk in here. Carlos stepped forward. I'm Carlos Menendez, attorney for Juliana Rivera. These officers are here on official business. One of the police officers pulled out a document. Miranda Rivera, we have a warrant for your arrest for fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud, and attempted theft. The color drained from Miranda's face. What? This is insane. Officers, you don't understand. My sister is mentally ill. She's clearly called you here as part of some delusion. Ma'am, please stand up, the officer said firmly. This is a mistake, Miranda said, her voice shaking now. Real fear, not performance. Whatever she told you, she's lying. She's sick. Ask anyone here. She gestured to her guests. Patricia stepped forward and addressed the room. I'm Patricia Chun, trust and estate attorney. I'm here to inform everyone present that all statements made tonight about Juliana Rivera's mental state are false and defamatory. We have evidence of a conspiracy to defraud Miss Rivera of her inheritance, and everyone who participated will be held accountable. Dr. Voss stood up quickly. I think there's been a misunderstanding. I was simply here as a guest. You're Dr. Helena Voss, correct? Carlos asked. We have records of payments from Miranda Rivera to your practice. $50,000 paid 2 weeks ago. The memo line says consultation fees. Dr. Voss went pale. Carlos continued, addressing the room. We also have recordings of tonight's dinner. Every false statement, every manufactured incident, every lie has been documented. I suggest everyone here contact their own lawyers, because you're all going to need them. The room erupted. People started talking over each other, grabbing their coats, heading for the door. The carefully constructed performance fell apart in seconds. Miranda lunged toward me. You little snake. After everything I've done for you. I gave you a home. I gave you money. I took care of you. You imprisoned me, I said, my voice steady and cold. You isolated me, gaslit me, and stole from me. You were planning to have me locked away so you could take everything our parents left me. But you failed. You can't prove anything, Miranda hissed. Patricia opened her briefcase and pulled out a thick stack of papers. Actually, we can. We have the original trust documents showing you've been stealing from Juliana's share for 3 years. We have bank records. We have your correspondence with the psychiatric facility. We have the fake evidence file you created. And we have a recording of your phone call with your lawyer discussing the entire plan. Miranda's face went from red to white to gray. She looked at Rosa, who was standing quietly in the corner. You did this. Rosa met her gaze without flinching. I did what Miss Juliana's mother would have wanted. I protected her daughter from a snake. The police officers moved forward. Ma'am, we need you to come with us. Wait, Miranda said desperately. Juliana, please. We can work this out. We're sisters. Family. Don't let them arrest me. I'll give you everything back. I'll sign whatever you want. Please. I looked at her, this woman who had shared a childhood with me, who had held my hand at our parents' funeral, who I had trusted with everything. And I felt nothing but sadness. You stopped being my sister the day you decided I was worth more to you in a psychiatric ward than in your life, I said quietly. Take her. The officers handcuffed Miranda and led her toward the door. She was crying now, real tears, begging me to stop this, promising she would change, swearing she never meant to hurt me. But I had heard enough lies. As they took her out, Dr. Voss and several other guests tried to slip away quietly. Carlos blocked their path. Not so fast. You're all going to need to give statements. And you should know that filing false psychiatric evaluations is a crime, Dr. Voss. You could lose your license. In fact, I'd say it's almost certain. The remaining guests sat back down, looking sick. Patricia turned to me. Juliana, we have a lot of work to do. But as of tonight, you have full control of your portion of the trust. Your sister can't touch it. And based on what we've found, you'll likely be awarded her portion as well, as compensation for the theft and emotional damages. I nodded, still trying to process everything that had just happened. Rosa came to my side and put her arm around me. You did good, Miss Juliana. Your mama would be proud. The days following Miranda's arrest were a blur of legal meetings, police statements, and court hearings. I moved out of the guest house immediately and into a hotel while Patricia worked to untangle the mess Miranda had created. The truth came out piece by piece, and each revelation was worse than the last. Miranda had been stealing from the trust for almost 4 years, not 3. It started small, a few thousand here and there that she justified as management fees. But as her gambling addiction grew, so did the amounts. She had lost over $2 million at casinos, hidden behind shell companies and fake business expenses. When she realized she was going to get caught, that's when she came up with the conservatorship plan. If she could have me declared incompetent, she would control everything. She could continue stealing, cover her tracks, and no one would ever know. The psychiatric facility was in on it too. They had done this before, accepting wealthy patients whose family members wanted them locked away. The $300,000 payment was just the beginning. They would have billed the trust for years of unnecessary treatment, splitting the profits with Miranda. Dr. Voss lost her medical license within a week. The others who had posed as witnesses were charged with conspiracy. Some took plea deals and testified against Miranda. Others fought the charges, but the evidence was overwhelming. Rosa's recording was the key to everything. Without it, it would have been my word against Miranda's, and Miranda had spent years building her credibility while destroying mine. The trial happened 4 months later. I sat in the courtroom every single day, watching my sister try to convince a jury that she had been trying to help me, that I had misunderstood everything, that she was the real victim. Her lawyer tried every angle. He painted me as vengeful, bitter, jealous of my successful older sister. He suggested that I had fabricated evidence, that I had manipulated Rosa, that I was the one who was truly unstable. But Carlos and Patricia were brilliant. They brought in forensic accountants who traced every stolen dollar. They had handwriting experts analyze the fake journal entries. They played the recording of Miranda's phone call in court, and you could hear several jury members gasp when they heard how coldly she discussed having me committed. The most damaging testimony came from one of Miranda's ex-boyfriends. He testified that she had practiced her concerned sister routine with him, asking him to help her make it look believable. He had thought it was strange, but he assumed it was for a play or something. When he saw the news about her arrest, he came forward. The verdict came back after only 3 hours of deliberation. Guilty on all counts. The judge was not lenient. He sentenced Miranda to 8 years in prison for fraud and conspiracy. He also ordered her to pay full restitution, which meant every penny she had left went to me. Not that there was much. Most of it was gone, lost to casinos and bad investments. But the trust was intact. Patricia had frozen it in time, and now it was entirely mine. $24 million, plus the earnings it had generated over the years. I sat in that courtroom and watched my sister being led away in handcuffs, and I waited to feel something. Joy, maybe. Satisfaction. Victory. But all I felt was tired. And sad. Sad that it had come to this. Sad that greed had destroyed the only family I had left. Miranda looked back at me one last time before they took her through the door. Her makeup was smeared, her expensive clothes wrinkled, her hair a mess. She mouthed something. I couldn't tell if it was "I'm sorry" or "I hate you." Maybe both. Then she was gone. After the trial, I went back to the penthouse one last time. I had inherited it, along with everything else Miranda owned. Standing in that massive living room where she had planned my destruction, I felt nothing but emptiness. Rosa found me there, staring out the window at the city below. "What are you going to do now, Miss Juliana?" she asked gently. I turned to face her. "First, I'm going to ask you something. Will you come work for me? Not as a housekeeper, but as an advisor. You saved my life, Rosa. I trust you more than anyone." Tears filled her eyes. "It would be an honor." "Second," I continued, "I'm going to sell this place. I never want to see it again. And third, I'm going to live. Really live. For the first time in years." Over the next few months, I transformed completely. Not just on the outside, though that changed too. I started dressing in a way that made me feel powerful instead of invisible. I cut my hair, updated my wardrobe, and took care of myself. But the real transformation was internal. I took business classes. I learned about investing, about real estate, about building wealth instead of just inheriting it. I hired a team of advisors who taught me how to read financial statements, how to spot fraud, how to protect myself. I discovered I was good at it. Really good. The skills I had used to manage Miranda's household, organizing, planning, paying attention to details, they translated perfectly into business management. Within a year, I had doubled the value of the trust through smart investments. I bought properties, renovated them, and sold them for profit. I invested in startups founded by women who needed a chance, just like I had needed one. I started a foundation in my parents' name, focused on helping people escape financial abuse. Because I learned that what Miranda did to me was more common than anyone wanted to admit. Family members controlling money, isolating loved ones, gaslighting them into believing they were incompetent. It happened every day. The foundation provided legal help, financial education, and safe housing for people trying to break free. Rosa became the director. She hired a staff of people who understood what it meant to be trapped, and together they helped hundreds of people take back their lives. 2 years after the trial, I was featured in a business magazine. From Victim to Victor: How Juliana Rivera Built an Empire After Nearly Losing Everything. I was sitting in my new office, a beautiful space in a downtown high-rise that I owned, when my assistant buzzed me. "Miss Rivera, there's someone here to see you. She says she's your sister." My heart stopped. "Miranda?" "No, ma'am. She says her name is Elena. She's Miranda's cellmate. She has a message." I almost said no. I had spent 2 years building a life that didn't include my sister. But curiosity won. "Send her in." Elena was a thin woman in her 40s, with tired eyes and rough hands. She sat across from my desk looking uncomfortable in the plush chair. "Miranda asked me to come see you when I got out," Elena said. "She wanted me to tell you something." "I'm listening." She said to tell you she's sorry, that she knows you won't believe it, and she doesn't blame you. But she's been clean for 6 months now. No gambling. She goes to therapy. She's trying to understand why she did what she did. Elena paused. She also said to tell you that losing you is worse than losing her freedom. That she destroyed the only thing that really mattered. I sat back in my chair. Is she asking me to visit her? No. She said she doesn't deserve that. She just wanted you to know that she's sorry, and that she hopes someday you can forgive her. Even if you never speak to her again. After Elena left, I sat alone in my office for a long time. I thought about the sister I grew up with. The one who used to braid my hair and tell me stories. The one who held me when our parents died. I tried to figure out when that sister had disappeared and this stranger had taken her place. Maybe it had been gradual. Maybe it had been sudden. I would never really know. 3 more years passed. I received letters from Miranda occasionally. I never responded, but I read them. She told me about her life in prison, about the things she was learning about herself, about her addiction and her deep-seated insecurity that made her believe she was never enough. She told me that watching me succeed from prison was both the hardest and the proudest thing she'd ever experienced. Hard because it reminded her of everything she'd thrown away. Proud because deep down, underneath all the poison, there was still a part of her that loved me. I kept the letters in a drawer. I didn't know what to do with them. On the 5th anniversary of that terrible birthday party, I received a call. Miranda had been released early for good behavior. She was living in a halfway house, working at a diner, trying to rebuild her life from nothing. She's not asking to see you, her parole officer told me. She just wanted you to know she's out, in case you were worried about her showing up unexpectedly. But 3 days later, I found myself sitting in my car outside that diner. I watched through the window as Miranda served coffee to customers. She looked different. Older, thinner, worn down by years in prison. But there was something else too. A kind of humility that had never been there before. She glanced up and saw me. Our eyes met through the glass. She froze, the coffee pot in her hand. I could see her trying to decide what to do. Whether to run, to hide, to pretend she hadn't seen me. Instead, she just stood there, waiting, giving me the choice. I got out of the car and walked inside. The bell above the door chimed. Miranda set down the coffee pot with shaking hands. "Juliana," she whispered. "Hello, Miranda." We stood there in the middle of that diner, 5 years and a lifetime between us. "I'm not here to forgive you," I said quietly. "I'm not ready for that. I don't know if I'll ever be ready." She nodded, tears already streaming down her face. "I understand. But I'm here to tell you that I don't hate you anymore. I did for a long time. But hate is exhausting, and I'm tired of carrying it. I don't deserve." "No," I interrupted. "You don't deserve anything from me. But I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for me. Because I've learned that healing isn't about the person who hurt you. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of what they did." Miranda covered her face with her hands, sobbing. Other customers were staring, but I didn't care. "I've built a good life," I continued. "A life you tried to steal from me. But you failed. And now I'm here to tell you that I'm grateful. Grateful that you showed me how strong I really am. Grateful that I learned who I can trust. Grateful that I found out while I still had time to fight back." She looked up at me through her tears. "I'm so sorry, Juliana. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know. I'm so sorry." I pulled an envelope from my purse and set it on the counter. "This is the name of a therapist who specializes in addiction and family trauma. The first 6 months are paid for. After that, you're on your own." Miranda stared at the envelope like it might disappear. "Why would you do this for me?" "Because someone did it for me when I needed it. And because despite everything, we're still sisters. That doesn't mean I'm inviting you back into my life. It doesn't mean we're going to have dinner or celebrate holidays together. It just means I hope you get the help you need." I turned to leave. "Juliana," Miranda called after me. "Thank you. And I really am proud of you. I mean that." I looked back at her one last time. "Goodbye, Miranda." I walked out of that diner and got into my car. As I drove away, I felt something lift from my chest. A weight I didn't even know I was still carrying. Forgiveness wasn't about forgetting what someone did to you. It wasn't about letting them back into your life. It was about deciding that their actions would no longer control your story. Miranda had tried to bury me. Instead, she planted me. And I grew stronger than either of us had ever imagined possible. So here's what I learned from the worst night of my life. Sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who think they love you. But real love doesn't manipulate, doesn't steal, and doesn't try to convince you that you're crazy for standing up for yourself. The moment you realize your worth is the moment you become dangerous to anyone who tried to make you feel worthless. If my story taught you anything, let it be this. Trust your instincts, protect your assets, and never let anyone make you believe you're less than you are. Not even family. Especially not family. What did you think of this story? Drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from, and if you've ever dealt with someone who tried to gaslight you or control your life. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more stories that matter. Until next time, remember, you are stronger than anyone who tries to break you.